Alright, this was the last game of the tournament. And I was paired with none other than National Master Daniel Herman. You'll notice I got 3 whites. I didn't notice that until it was rated, and I was like, wait, did I really get 3 whites? I don't know what that was about. I think it was to avoid me playing Daniel in the 2nd or 3rd round. But then we ended up playing in the last round anyway. So it's kind of unfair. But... okay. I got another Catalan. So I know that Daniel plays this line sometimes, and truly I didn't remember what was in my book. I know both moves are good, but I kind of metaed it. I know Bishop D2 is more common, more popular, and he would be more experienced in it. And I was like 60% sure this was in my book, so I played Knight D2, and it worked out pretty well, because he did not seem to know how to play against it. So, D5, Bishop G2, Castle, A3 is best. I was not in theory here, but it seemed to make sense to play A3 before, like, if I just go Knight F3 here, he plays D takes C4 and then C3, and I don't really like that. Like, if I play A3 here, I think he just takes, honestly. I mean, taking with the bishop misplaces my bishop, taking with the queen misplaces my queen. And if I play knight takes, then he... does he not play C3? The computer says no. Okay, well, I guess I'm just full of shit, but I thought that C3 was an idea sometimes, so that's why I played A3. Which happened to be the best move. I guess I don't understand it, and I thought I did. Develop a piece. And I was expecting B6, because I've seen him do that before. And I think it's the most common move here. But he played C6, which actually surprised me a little. It's fine. I think B6 is better. So I castle, and then he plays B6. And, I don't know if this is a thing or not, but it just struck me as kind of bad to play B6 and C6. They don't seem to go together in my head. It's just kind of slow. So I play Queen C2, which is best, and I'm just trying to get E4 in as soon as possible and break open the center. It's like basically my whole plan. So Bishop B7. And I thought for a while here, I can play E4 right away. Or I can play Rook D1. What? No? So I can play E4 or Rook D1 here. I think it's a matter of taste, but... I was remembering looking at a position at some point with my queen here, and like a queen here or something. And it's saying something about we don't have to worry about C5 as long as we can respond with D5. So it kind of led me to the conclusion that I should play Rook D1 to support that. My opponent played Knight D7, E4. Takes. Okay, so I believe if you're gonna do this, you should take again and play Queen C8, which is a hard move to find over the board. But it's kind of your only move, if you think about it. This bishop needs to be defended, and if you go Queen C7, then you always have to worry about Bishop F4. You have to get out of this, like, right away. So you kind of have to play Queen C8. So it's not great for black already. I think white is just kind of a lot better. Because this was just weird. But my opponent played C5, which is very surprising because C5 doesn't work. And this is why I played Rook D1. So the thing is, that rule of responding to C5 with D5, only applies if black has properly prepared c5, which he is not here. The queen is still on this d file, and it's going to be harassed by the rook. So naturally I take on f6, and taking with the knight is what happened in the game. I think his initial intention was to take with the bishop, but he missed knight g5. So this is the second time today we've seen this Catalan tactic, but it pops up all the time in the Catalan. It's like the most common tactic to happen, and the only one I'm aware of. So this is what he missed, I assume, but I was, you know, I already knew this. And the big problem is, like, if he takes here, like, I'm gonna go here at some point. Like, he can take on c1, but I take on c5, actually. I'm not gonna recapture. I'm either gonna do this or this, and this is just a hideous position for black. So he saw that after I took on f6, and so he took with the knight, which is just accepting that he's worse. So d takes c, threatening the queen. He has to move it, and then I just take another pawn, takes with the a pawn here. And I have no problems in my position. I lost to knight g5 as a 1700 to a 1300 in grade nationals when I was in middle school. I bet it never happened to you again. So this position, I was like, I gotta develop my queenside and strengthen my pawn majority. So I played b4. Just, I don't know, gaining space. Bishop d5. Maybe my move is slightly weird. I played queen c3. But it was kind of an anticipation for what happened. But I guess you could say it would work with queen e2 anyway. I don't know. Queen e2 is the natural place for the queen in the Catalan, so I don't know. The only thing that I have to worry about this position is hanging on to my c-pawn. Even if I don't end up hanging on to it, white is still better, I think. So rook c8 makes sense. And I play bishop e2. Now, I don't really understand black's next move. I think he said he just assumed I was sacking a pawn for piece activity, which makes sense for me. But like 2 seconds of calculation can show you why queen takes c4 is a blunder. So go ahead, I'll give you 2 seconds. Alright. So my opponent played queen takes c4, which I had prepared for. Queen takes c4. Knight d2 is a fork. What? And now that my bishop's on b2, he doesn't have rook d4. So white is winning. Okay, but it keeps going. I really love how I ended this game. So he tries bishop takes g2, knight takes c4. And I'm attacking this and this. So he attacks something while defending his piece. And if I go here, I don't know, maybe bishop e2. So instead I just opted for knight takes b6 after a little bit of calculation. And okay, if he takes here, like this is obviously just completely lost. Up in exchange and a pawn, and I have connected passers. So rook a6 is the thing that we have to look at. And I think a lot of people would have seen rook a6 and then like said, oh, it doesn't work. But this is still the best continuation. So you can pause the video if you want to find it. There's multiple winning moves, but mine's best. So I decided to give up my exchange in order to just have all of my pieces be better than his, because his only good piece is the bishop on f3. So I played knight c8. Knight c8 is filthy. Okay, so when he takes here, I'm not playing this knight takes c7 check because he plays king f8 and he's attacking my knight. I just calmly take back on d1, and his bishop is out of squares, except for f8. And there's no good way to defend it. If he goes here, I can just take it, and then take, and then take. So king f8 is forced. But here, the rest of the game, all calculated. And it's all pretty much forced. So white to play and win, with black making natural moves. So when I say forced, I don't mean like that he has no other choice, I just mean no other reasonable choice. So I need a line, I don't need a move, I need a full line. I also want to see how long I was spending here. So I spent like 6 minutes total on all this. Go faster, hippie! So yes, I would like to promote on the queen side. But how do I do this in the most accurate way possible? Alright, so here are some things to note about this endgame position. So black's king is cut off from the pawns. His bishop has no squares. And the only way to get the king over to help defend against the pawns promoting is to play something like knight d5. And that would be annoying. The way I found this was actually just trying to find a way to prevent knight d5. Okay, so we start with the most forcing move, because it's a forcing line. So b5, rook a8. This next move may shock some. We are going to give up our very strong knight on c8 for his worst piece. Now we are doing this because the pawns are going to promote now without any resistance. So I'll say white to play and win here again, because this is an easier position to find it in. And remember that his moves aren't forced, they're just if he plays the most natural moves, you know? And if he doesn't, he's also losing. So we looked at a concept in 2 of my games that I've looked at today that applies here, that involves passed pawns and rooks. Bishop e5, knight d5, rook d5, ed, b6. Incorrect, but keep trying. So, okay. a4. Hanging a pawn. Now, if black doesn't take on a4, then the pawns are just really fast. So we've made progress. So the best move actually is to take on a4. But now, after b6, I can't get behind the pawn because of bishop a3. This was point number 2 of taking on e7. It's so that the king is on this diagonal. So the next logical thing to do would be like getting back in front of the pawn. Now what you have to see here is rook a8, bishop e5. Give that an exclam. What is different here about bishop e5 than it is in the other position? Because he can still do this here. The whole combination was based purely around gaining a tempo, so that after knight d5 it doesn't help because b7 immediately attacks the rook and I'm already covering the b8 square. Yes, I saw this when I played knight takes bishop. All my moves were played almost instantly after this. So what does black do? This is pretty serious thing to deal with. The king is completely cut off. What else is there to do? Knight d7 is tried, but I had already accounted for this because after b7, you're defending this twice, but after rook d8, rook takes d7. It says inaccurate, but it's like the fastest way to win. I can also play bishop d6, I can also play bishop c7, but I think this is the most brutal. It went from like +10 to +5 or something. Don't worry about the valuation. So the problem is I have this here, and if he takes with the king, I can promote. Then I'm just up a piece in this endgame. And if he takes with the rook, I queen, and I'm up a queen in this endgame. So the game ended like this, and then he made me play this on for a while, and I was actually pretty nervous that I'd mess it up, but I didn't. I don't know why I thought I would mess it up. Just kind of thought I would. But so I like played a perfect game, start to finish. Let me see if I can get the yeah. So I was white. So I had seen this idea from here. It's really not that hard to see if you're just looking at the most forcing move in every position. So the way people calculate lines like 10 moves deep or more is not that they're just really good at calculating it all the time. It's that the most forcing line to calculate is the easiest one, because after each most forcing move, your opponent only has like one option, so there's way less to consider. So if you just keep doing that as far as you possibly can, you can calculate way deeper because there's just fewer things to think about, I suppose. So if you're looking down a line and you think of stopping and there's another really forcing move, don't stop. Keep going until there's no more forcing moves, and then go one move further. Like, never stop calculating on your turn. Always end it on their turn. Do you understand? Everything wins, but I thought that was the prettiest way to do it. Like, I didn't have to give up the exchange. But I thought this was very nice to gain that tempo. Yeah, and yeah, he doesn't have to take here, but then I have 2 pass pawns. So anyway, I won first place in that tournament, and I got $47. Why didn't you tell me this? I don't know. You never asked. Alright, that's all I got for games right now. I got We Go Gym. We Go Gym.